The Galactic Council had made what they considered a generous gesture. After 3 decades of humans pestering them for membership, they finally extended an invitation to the prestigious Deathworld summit on Zirion Prime. The catch? Zirion Prime was a Category 9 Deathworld, a planet so hostile that only the galaxy's most resilient species could survive there long enough to attend the week-long diplomatic gathering. It's obviously a test, Ambassador Chen Wei had explained to her human delegation as their transport ship approached the Nightmare Planet. They want to see if we're tough enough to deserve a seat at the big table. The other species attending the summit had evolved on worlds that would kill most life forms instantly. The crystalline Vorthack could withstand radiation that would liquefy organic matter. The gas giant dwelling Zephyrians existed as living clouds in crushing atmospheric pressure. The molten hive had evolved in volcanic systems where lead flowed like water. When the human shuttle touched down on Zirion Prime's scorched surface, the other delegates watched with barely concealed amusement. The humans emerged wearing bulky environmental suits, looking like primitive deep-sea divers compared to the naturally adapted aliens around them. "Behold," chittered Ambassador Skleth of the Acid Lakes Consortium, his carapace gleaming in the toxic yellow sunlight. The soft skins have arrived in their metal cocoons. The first day's proceedings took place in an amphitheater carved from obsidian, where the ambient temperature hovered around 200 degrees Celsius. Sulfuric acid rain pattered against the energy shields while violent electrical storms raged overhead. The alien delegates basked in the hostile environment, their conversations flowing as easily as if they were in a pleasant garden. The humans, meanwhile, huddled in their environmental suits, carefully monitoring their life support systems. They spoke little during the formal sessions, and when they did, their words were muffled by their breathing apparatus. "Perhaps," suggested the towering Graviton Elder, whose species had evolved in crushing gravitational fields, "our new friends would be more comfortable observing from orbit." Polite laughter rippled through the assembly. The humans said nothing. By the 3rd day, the other delegates had begun to ignore the humans entirely. During break periods, they would venture outside to enjoy Zirion Prime's refreshing atmosphere, a mixture of methane, hydrogen sulfide, and trace amounts of chlorine gas. The humans remained indoors, apparently struggling just to survive. It was on the 4th day that everything changed. The session had just begun when alarms started blaring throughout the complex. The crystalline walls began to vibrate ominously, and even the hardy Vorthack looked concerned as their translation devices announced, "Seismic event magnitude 9.7 detected. Supervolcanic eruption imminent. Facility structural integrity compromise." Chaos erupted as the supposedly indestructible delegates suddenly found themselves facing a threat beyond even their considerable tolerances. The Zephyrians began to disperse in panic, their gaseous forms losing cohesion. The molten hive, despite their heat resistance, started frantically calculating escape vectors as pyroclastic flows began racing toward the facility. In the midst of the pandemonium, the humans moved. Ambassador Chen's voice cut through the chaos with startling clarity. "Evacuation Protocol 7. Henderson, get the structural supports. Martinez, coordinate the transport schedules. Kim, help the Graviton Elder, his mass is too much for the standard antigrav units." The humans shed their bulky outer suits like molting insects, revealing sleek emergency gear underneath. Their movements were swift, precise, and utterly without panic. In seconds, they had transformed from bumbling observers into a coordinated rescue operation. "How?" gasped Ambassador Skleth as humans helped evacuate his delegation to reinforced shelters. "Your species is weak. Fragile." Chen smiled grimly as she personally carried an injured Vorthack to safety, the crystalline being's mass requiring the strength of her powered exoskeleton. "You made an assumption," she said. "You thought we were struggling to survive here." Another human called out coordinates as he directed the evacuation of non-mobile species. "Actually," he added conversationally, "this place reminds us of home. Ever been to Venus? Or tried deep-sea exploration? How about Antarctica during winter?" As the facility shook around them, the humans continued their rescue efforts with mechanical efficiency. They had spent their entire evolutionary history adapting to environments that should have killed them. Acid rain. They'd been dealing with pollution for centuries. Extreme temperatures. They lived everywhere from Arctic tundra to desert wastelands. Toxic atmosphere. They'd been developing life support technology since before they left their home planet. The summit was relocated to the human ship in orbit, where the other delegates found themselves in the unusual position of being guests rather than hosts. As they settled into the comfortable, neutral environment, a new understanding began to dawn. Your species, the Graviton Elder observed slowly, you weren't invited here to prove you could survive a Deathworld. Ambassador Chen nodded. We were invited because we already live on one. Earth might not be as immediately hostile as Zirion Prime, but it's been trying to kill us for millions of years. The difference is, we learned to work together to survive it. The Galactic Council's invitation had indeed been a test, just not the one they'd intended. They had wanted to see if humans were tough enough for galactic civilization. Instead, they discovered that humans were the galaxy's natural disaster response specialists. The summit continued, but the tone had shifted entirely.